Chapter 36. Cells. The Cherub control room made immediate contact with the chief inspector in charge of the local police station. After hearing a security password, she agreed to seal the crime scene, take all of the casualties to the local hospital under police guard, and await the arrival of an investigation and cleanup team from Cherub. As he was loaded into an ambulance, Hewitt told James not to let the padded envelope out of his sight. Kate, who'd suffered several broken ribs when James landed on her, shared the ambulance. The Audi driver had been restrained by Dana after recovering from his 50,000-volt nip. He was arrested and driven to the police station. After handing the pistols to the cops, James and Dana were given a ride by a tough-looking sergeant, who'd been instructed not to speak to them. When they arrived at the police station, he led them to a deserted corner of the staff canteen and told them that someone was coming to collect them. As they drank cokes from the vending machine, James slid out the contents of the envelope. The first page was typed on Madeline Cowell's personal stationery using an old-fashioned manual typewriter. Dear Jason McLeod, you and I have a long and combative history, but I have always admired your dedication and integrity as a reporter. Lord Freddie Hilton and I worked together for more than 30 years, and, as I am sure you suspected, we were also lovers. Perhaps it is this that blinded me to the evil nature of the man. As always, I attended the Hilton summer barbecue this July. Freddie took me aside and made it clear that he was prepared to do whatever it took in order to allow his son Sebastian to reach the highest ranks within British politics. He asked me whether I was likely to have any kind of problem with this. When I said that I didn't like his increasing appetite for power, Freddie began to issue veiled threats. I'd had a few glasses of champagne and soon found myself taking part in a distasteful scene, at the end of which I was escorted from the Hilton estate by a security guard. Over many years, I have learned much about the Hilton family's business and personal affairs. When I sobered up that evening, I realised that Lord Hilton is not a man who likes anyone to have a hold over him, and reached the conclusion that my life might be in some danger. If you are reading this, then I have most likely been proved correct. I could, of course, have brought this information to you or to the police during my lifetime, but it does not show me in a good light, and may even have left me open to a criminal prosecution. I did not involve my children in this, because I felt that their eyes might be irresistibly drawn towards the contents of this envelope. Instead, I entrusted the documents to my long-term housekeeper, Sarah Thomas, telling her to give them to you in the event of my untimely death. Sarah is a simple, honest soul. My children will be provided for from my estate, but I would ask that you divide any money that you make from this story with Sarah. The following page contains an index of the cassette recordings and documents in this envelope. Wherever possible, I have also provided additional notes, including extensive details of the Hilton family's overseas bank accounts and details of people who will be able, though not necessarily willing, to corroborate all of the evidence within. Yours sincerely, Madeline Cowell. James flipped to the next page and skimmed over the list of documents. They appeared to detail everything from tax evasion, illegal bank accounts, sales of aircraft components to countries under United Nations embargoes, and favours done for senior politicians to secure Sebastian Hilton's seat in Parliament. Is there anything about the murder of Oberdon? Dana asked. James shook his head. I guess that was after Cowell retired. But with all these details of secret bank accounts, I'd bet that the investigators will find a link. Dana nodded. Even if they don't, there's enough evidence here to put Lord Hilton and his son away for a good few years. James drummed his fingers nervously on the tabletop. I guess that's Lord Hilton's fate sorted. I just wish I knew my own. Zara arrived an hour later. James was relieved to see her smiling as she entered the canteen. "Have you seen Ewart at the hospital?" Dana asked. Zara nodded. "I popped in briefly. He seems okay. He's moaning that they're not giving him enough pain relief. But that's just Ewart. You should see the fuss I have to put up with at home when he puts his back out." "Cool," James said. "I'm glad it's not serious." "I have to admit, I'm still confused," Zara said. "We realised that you'd both disappeared with the Volkswagen early this morning. Lauren thought you might have run off together. But her theory didn't make any sense because you hadn't packed any clothes or possessions." James and Dana looked at each other. "What gave Lauren that idea?" James asked. "She said that you two were having an affair and that you'd run away because she was planning to tell Kerry all about it. She seemed pretty upset." "We didn't run away," Dana grinned. "I figured that much out for myself," Zara said. "I got security to run a check on your movements, and they picked you up sneaking in and out of Ewart's office with the documents. What on earth possessed you to do that?" James looked awkwardly at the tabletop. "I thought he was going to stitch me up in the investigation." "Pardon me?" Zara spluttered. James thought about mentioning Mr. Pike's involvement, but couldn't see that it would do anyone any good. "To be honest, I've never liked Ewart much," he blurted. "I was worried that he was going to make me a scapegoat, like he did with Nicole when we were on the drugs mission a couple of years back." "Oh, come off it," Zara said. "Nicole consumed a Class A drug. You can't blame Ewart for that." "I guess," James said. "I'm just trying to be honest. For whatever reason, I didn't trust Ewart, so I went to look at all the paperwork in his office." Zara nodded. "And you discovered that he knew a lot more than he was telling you." "So you knew?" James gasped. "You knew that Ewart had the CIA tape and didn't bother telling me?" "It was an extremely difficult decision," Zara said. "We wanted to put you out of your misery, but MI5 were pressuring us to send you down to London for more interviews. We couldn't risk even the slightest chance that you'd let something slip out during a long interview." "I'm trained for that kind of stuff," James said. "You could have trusted me." "I know you are," Zara smiled. "But MI5 interrogators are trained to wheedle secrets out of intelligence agents with a lot more experience than you. One slip of the tongue, one flippant answer, or even just the fact that you seemed a bit more confident than you had done in previous interviews might have tipped them off that Ewart's investigation was close to uncovering the truth." "And you were dealing with some powerful people," Dana nodded. "Exactly," Zara said. "When you're trying to bring down one of the richest men in the country and his son, who also happens to be junior intelligence minister, you can't take any unnecessary risks." "We were sure Ewart was taking bribes off Lord Hilton when we saw the new Lexus," James added. Zara burst out laughing. "Oh, it was Ewart's 30th birthday present from me. I got a good raise when I was promoted to chairman. We'd never really had a decent car before, and I wanted something that was a bit flash, but also safe and comfortable for the kids." James decided to cut to the chase. "So are me and Dana getting nailed for going after Ewart, or what?" Zara shrugged. "I can't condone you going through secret papers in my husband's office, or breaking out of campus in a stolen car, but you've been through a miserable few weeks, what with getting beaten up and then worrying about the investigation. And I can hardly ignore the fact that you saved my husband's life. I guess the two sets of factors just about cancel each other out." "What about me?" Dana asked. How long have you got to carry on cleaning the mission preparation building? 2 and a bit weeks. You can take today off, then get back at it tomorrow. Okay? James felt like a massive weight had been lifted off. For the first time in weeks, he didn't have to worry about the investigation or the threat of being kicked out of Cherub. What about the envelope? He asked. I spoke to Hewitt about it, Zara said. He reckons that Jason McLeod will want it now that he knows Sarah Thomas isn't a crackpot. McLeod can break the story and save us the awkward task of having to explain where we fit in. But we'll keep the originals of everything just in case. Dana smiled at James. Do you realise we'd have been spared all of this if McLeod had bothered returning his answer phone message from Sarah Thomas 2 weeks ago? Yeah, James moped. Stupid old codger. We'd better get moving, Zara said. I want to get all of the documents and tapes back to campus ASAP. Once our bods have made duplicates of everything inside the envelope, we'll have someone drive it down to McLeod's house and slip it through his letterbox. If he gets his act together, he should be able to sell an exclusive to one of the Sunday papers. We know the Hiltons have McLeod's phone tapped already, James said. What if they try and bump him off? It's a possibility, Zara nodded. I'll have someone keep him under close surveillance until the story breaks. Zara led James and Dana out of the canteen and onto a staircase that led towards the parking lot at the back of the police station. You know, Zara said, as they hurried down the steps, maybe you snuck out of campus for the wrong reasons, but it took guts to step in when the father of my children had a gun pointing at his head. I reckon you two are going to look good dressed in black.